Soul evolution, the real reality that we live in. Oh my gosh, evolutionaries. I am so excited to be here today because today I'm going to challenge you to think a little differently. I was talking to a friend of mine. A lot of you know who he is. And he said, Joe, just go ahead and share. They want to know the truth. So today we're going to go down a little bit different rabbit hole talking about reality and the Matrix. We've all seen the movie The Matrix. So we are in a matrix, but we're not in a technological matrix per se. We're in a spiritual matrix. And this spiritual matrix has its own unique rule set and players within the matrix itself. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about the players, how to discern who these players are, and really how to win the game in this little brief video that I'm about to jump into. So today, again, the challenge is to think differently. Think outside the box of what and how you've been programmed to think. And this is going to be pretty exciting, even for some people that are kind of like way out there in La La Land, thinking beyond kind of the concepts of what reality is. I guarantee this video is going to push you to the limits. So let's kind of jump into this because we have a perception that we are born and then we have a life. So before we're born, and some of us may know the concept that our soul has an agreement to come into the body when it's conceived and then born, and then we have a life, and then we kind of go to heaven or the other place, whatever. But that's kind of a very grandiose, very large picture that isn't quite true. Because, number one, there is no downstairs. That's a falsehood. Now, there are certain things that happen if you are, say, having a little bit too much fun or being a little outside the boundaries of being loving and having incredible kindness and showing this incredible just dedication to helping other people grow. But outside of that, that's not part of this conversation, so that will be another conversation, another video in the future. So let's really take a look at reality. And reality in who you are and who I am and who we are as players in this Matrix game, because it's pretty exciting. And it really was kind of mind-boggling and blowing to me, actually, when I started kind of figuring this out, because I figured it out because I started understanding who the players were inside of me. That sounds a little strange, I know, but trust me, it'll get stranger. So, reality. Let's talk about reality. So, we are, and our souls do come in, for those of us who have souls, and I'll get to that in just a second. So our souls do come into this body, this avatar. This is a temple. And like any temple, it can have people sitting inside of it, in our case, souls, or it could be empty. But what's interesting about the body temple is a lot of people don't really understand is it just like on a Sunday or a Saturday, on the Sabbath, you can go to temple and then you leave. So you have people that come and go into that edifice, that temple, all the time. Well, in a manner of speaking, that's essentially what you and I are in certain cases. Not in every case, but there are unique cases where we have more than one soul in us at a time, or a different soul, which is always very interesting to think about, because we think we're just kind of like this. We're here, we're born, we kind of go through life and we die. Well, the avatar does, but during that time, just think of us as like a carnival ride. We are here for the experience. Or our soul, or a soul, comes into our body, onto the ride, and it's going clink, 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 like on a roller coaster. You get to the top and you go, ah! But sometimes a soul, a younger soul, or a soul in general, just depends, doesn't like the downside, so they kind of freak out a little bit. So another soul will actually come into the body at that particular point in time to have that particular experience. Now, it could be because the first soul wasn't equipped to deal with that experience, and certainly there's been a lot of transition here in 2020 because a lot of souls are like going, dude, this is like even crazier than I could ever imagine. I am so out of here. And then there are souls that really are driving the experience of saying, yeah, this is exactly what I want, because the earth is in this huge transition period. It is in this this metamorphosis of ascension and expansion of attuning to a higher level. And so there are souls that are coming in and souls are leaving. And so this carnival ride is creating this very interesting dynamic here in the earth realm, this plane of existence that we live in. Because what's happening, and let me kind of back up for a second, is when a soul comes into the body, so let's just say before conception, you do have a soul contract, but that soul contract could be thousands of years old. It's not like they just made a contract last lifetime to pop in. No, this is well planned out. And so, well, I don't really want to get into free will, but I will say there's really no such thing as free will. Well, there is, but it's a matter of editing the program before the program is edited. So it's kind of like writing the play before the play is written, but that's a completely different subject, and it's really, it's very interesting and not the topic of this video, but it's something I'll cover in the future. So as we come in, let's take a look at the soul kind of lifespan or kind of ins and outs of going in of the temple. So a soul can come in, which is the plus, if you can see the plus, and then a minus, it might leave. So even before the baby, your avatar, is born, you can have a soul come in and decide, you know, I don't really think I wanted to be here this lifetime, and you could exit. And then another soul could come in, but it doesn't necessarily have to come in before conception, before the birth. I'm sorry, not conception, but birth. It can come in after birth. It can actually come in really up to 5 to 7 years old. It doesn't need to come in like at birth. So the vessel could be empty for a certain amount of time because the vessel, like anything, may need time to prepare for that soul to come into it. And that's interesting unto itself because the body has to attune to the spiritual frequency of that soul that is coming into it. So again, souls can come in and out. I do these little squiggly lines because it's puberty. It's kind of like, you know, who wants to go through that? There's probably souls like going, you know what, I think I'll leave and then I'll come back. Oh, so anyway, we're coming through the timeline of our life, and so there could be a soul that, again, comes in, comes out, and then what happens is during the span of our lifetime, we could have some type of hardship, and that hardship could be a medical condition, it could be an auto accident, a divorce, a child dying. It could be something that is completely unbearable that a soul just cannot deal with. It could be a near-death experience. Or in my case, it could be an out-of-body experience where I fell 9 feet onto the back of my head and lived outside of my body for 9 months. And I'll share a bit more of that story in a minute. But let me kind of talk about this because a soul chooses whether it wants to have that experience. And remember, you're a carnival ride, and that's kind of like fun to think about, right? It's like, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a carny. So as we kind of go through this, we understand that souls come and go. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that while typically, this is pretty common, there's just one soul in the body. There actually can be 2 souls in the body at any given time. And this could be that a soul in the avatar, the body, is going through something very challenging in life. And it could be that divorce, or it could be something like a spiritual opportunity to grow spiritually. And what happens is you have a more mature soul, teacher-type soul, stepping in. And that teacher-type soul comes in and nurtures and stabilizes and anchors the younger soul so that it understands how to best transition. So you can actually have 2 souls in your avatar body at one time. I'm not really talking about split personalities, but I am talking about the souls having an experience. And actually, there could be 3 souls in your body. And that's incredibly rare. I've never seen, at least my guides have never shared with me, that there's been 4 souls, but I'm not saying that that's not an impossibility. But the maximum number that I have heard of through my guides is 3 in a body at any given time. And again, these souls may have different attributes, different experiences from different places, from a starseed soul from, let's say, a different planet to an angelic soul. Now, angelic souls are very rare on this planet. I happen to have firsthand experience because of my out-of-body experience, because that's really where I get a lot of my insights from, is through angelics. So as we kind of go through this, we talk about the walk-ins. Now let's talk about how the players, the avatars, are set up on the game board. Now this is interesting because one of the things that a lot of people don't really grasp is that they think everybody on this planet has a soul. Well, that's not true. Actually, not as many people as you think have a soul on this planet. And the souls are different, as I just kind of alluded to with the walk-ins. But going back to the core concept of souls, original souls on this planet, are human souls. And human souls have been here since the planet was born, as they evolved. And they represent roughly 25% of the population. So not of all souls on the planet, of the population. So out of the, 8 billion or 7.5 billion people on the planet, or people, avatars on the planet, only 25% of those have human souls. Yeah, believe it or not, it's pretty crazy. But it's true. And again, these numbers fluctuate at any given time because of obviously people in transition and other things happening on the planet. So you have 25%. Now what's interesting is there was a glitch in the game, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I don't have the time, but I'm just going to say that these souls were trapped in the game. So these human souls were trapped, and then over periods of time, eons, in different civilizations, as a matter of fact, we're the 5th civilization, maybe the 6th, I'm confident we're the 5th, maybe the 6th, that has tried to escape the game. And so what happens during this period of when we're trying to exit the game? Well, we have an influx of starseeds. Well, guess what's happening on the planet right now? We have an influx of starseeds. We have an influx of angelics and etherics on this planet to help us exit the game. So all this craziness, like you're fighting a big boss. For those of you who are not familiar with video games, I got 3 boys, so they're always playing video games growing up. So you got this big boss at the end of the game that's this tyrannical boss, this computer boss that's very difficult to beat in the game. And so really, if you think about what's happening in 2020, there's a lot of craziness going on relative to thinking about the conflict of actually battling a big boss, which is why you have the influx of starseeds, which through my guides I estimate to be around 11%, again, of the population of the planet Earth. And so you can do your own math with that. And then, of course, you have angelics and etherics. Now, angelics are interesting because angelics have never been in a body before. So they have come, and same as with etherics as well, to inhabit bodies. And actually, there's some etherics that are here outside of the physical realm, outside of the physical body, but they are here. And you may see them as orbs and other things. And so there are other beings that are here to help promote this that may or may not be inside the physical body with the soul. So and as an angelic or an etheric, they're a little different than a soul coming into a body, but for this discussion, I'm just going to say they're a soul to make things simple. So 7%, again, they're unique. And then, of course, you've got the bad guys, the guys that try to control the game. These are the dark beings, the demons, and yes, even the Antichrist. Yes, he is here on Earth. He is, again, different video, and I want to keep this as how YouTube doesn't pull it down. So going into this, you've got these dark beings that represent roughly 6 or 7% of the population, maybe a little less depending, again, on the flux. But these people are the people that control the planet. And their whole goal is to keep the human souls trapped, the 25% that have been trapped here for millennia. And we are here, you and I are here as these starseeds, these angelics, to help rescue in the game and free these human souls so they can move forward. And then, that's what there's like a big gap. Well, this is where it gets interesting, because that big gap is the NPCs, what I call NPCs. And I got that from my boys, because it stands for non-player characters. So have you ever seen a computer game where the kids are playing, and then you got the 2 or 3 or 4 kids and boys and girls in a room, and they're all kind of playing the Xbox, and then but you've got all these like hundreds of whatever other characters in the game, animals and things, that are interfering with them. Well, those are computer-operated animations, avatars, and there's no soul inside of them. Their whole goal inside the game is to get in your way. And so I'm sure we all have met avatars and people that want to get in our way and stop or kind of slow down our spiritual evolution. I know I have. And quite frankly, it's something that happens to all of us. I mean, we all need to, and this is part of the reason I'm doing this video now, is because there's some discernment that needs to happen as we evolve and recognize and kind of see through the mist, if you will, to what's beyond the veil. So NPCs are here to get in your way. They are soulless bodies. They're empty temples. It's like driving down the road and seeing a church on a Monday or a temple on a Monday or Tuesday. There's nobody in that temple. So as we kind of understand this, there are people that may be, well, and I'll jump into that in a second, but that are here that just simply do not have a soul. So we need to step forward to understand that. One of the funny things, I was like, why did I draw a donut? I was like, well, because when my guides were sharing this information with me, the first thing they showed me was a donut, like a jelly donut with cream filling. And I'm like, okay, Joe, that's a soul. It has cream filling. Or the avatar has a soul. And and then they go, the bodies without a soul, they're like a glazed donut. So next time you eat a glazed donut, you go like, it's soulless. Anyway, I thought it was funny. My guides have a crazy sense of humor. So, Joe, how do we know? How do we know who's who in the game? So again, it's discernment. You have to learn to kind of peer beyond and attune. And so some of the things that my guides taught me to do, which is very trippy, and I think I mentioned this in one of my earlier videos, is that when I look at someone, I can actually see whether or not their heart has a light to it, this luminescence, because the soul resides in the heart. And if there's no light within that heart area, it's like, that person doesn't have a soul. And it was really trippy when my guides started opening up my ability to see this, because I was like totally blown away and freaked out. Just who wouldn't be, right? I mean, because you're seeing people that you think are very normal, but they don't have souls. Anyway, they're just an avatar. And that's what our body is. We just happen to be, a soul is within us to have this experience that we are unfolding. So dark beings can be anyone as well as NPCs. And I made a few notes here. So it could be a channeler. The people that channel these beings and they come in. Now, what's interesting is I've actually checked out some channelers. And I could tell you that, well, there's some channelers that are fake, and we probably all know that, just like there's some psychics that are fake. There are psychics and channelers who are controlled by not so nice, let's say, darker side beings. And they'll say, you got to love this, love that. But they don't really give any definitive type of guidance around how you evolve. And then, this is the trippy part, because I was following up one channel, because this is what I do, is when I look at a channel, I can go, I wonder who or what is transmitting information to them. So I pop over to the channel, the channeler, and I run up the energy stream because they are connected to an energy stream, and I kind of figure out what and how it is transmitting this energy stream to this channel, who is providing or sharing this information that's coming from this source. And I'm not going to name any names, but again, practice discernment. But I can tell you, in this one instance, they're connected to a satellite. Yeah, that's right, a satellite. Because what happens is the human body has a frequency. It's really a 17-digit code, kind of like your phone number. So if I am a government entity and I'm on a satellite, control a satellite, and I know your 17-digit code, guess what? I can dial into you. So maybe some of these voices, some of you may be hearing, it may be someone good, bad, or maybe even technological that is trying to influence you in a way to, again, stop your evolutionary path. So I only bring that up because it's very important to know who and what your real voice is. Who is the real voice of the soul that is within you? Because, again, it's discerning these multiple voices so in order to help you progress. So again, attune to it. So who have I seen that doesn't have a soul? So like NPCs. It could be a priest. It could be a shaman. I've seen shamans that do not have a soul. It could be spiritual people. It could be people that are sitting next to you meditating. Because again, they don't know any better. They don't know they don't have a soul. Could be a CEO of a big company or a small company. It could be normal people. It could be your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend. I know I've got a couple which before I kind of had this awakening experience, I was like, thinking back, maybe, maybe. Maybe a brother or sister, who knows? But the important thing is for you to recognize that there are people, it could be a husband or wife, there are people that are in our lives to stop our progression, our spiritual evolution. And don't think of it as bad because they don't know. It's not they are purposely doing it unless they're inhabited by a demon and then, all bets are off. Again, so they don't know, and they're just doing the best they can. They don't understand that they don't have a soul. So there is nothing wrong with not having a soul, because again, we're all players in the game. But again, it just depends on how this NPC is operating and what exactly they're doing relative to pulling you back from reaching that next stage of evolution and that next stage of growth. So what am I teaching about here? Or what did I want to wrap up with here? I really wanted to talk about the awareness, in closing with the awareness and the discernment. And again, what I talked about in the first part of this was learning how to think differently. And I know this is a little bit more out of the box than my normal video. Well, probably not, because I can go deeper down a lot of crazy rabbit holes. But I want you to understand that, or understand, I should say, that as we go through life, we're going to have the ability to attune our temple. Just like a radio getting a super tune-up so that we're able to receive more. And it just depends on what we are doing and who we are with. It's kind of like the old saying, you have the wealth or the whatever of your 5 closest friends. Well, the same thing really applies in spirituality. The same thing applies in what I talked about earlier, the attuning of the body temple as a baby in order for the soul to enter. Well, guess what? That happened to me. So when I fell on my head, I got knocked out of my body, as you know, for 9 months. I went through this attuning process. I mean, I had all these medical tests done. I had all this crazy, brain scans and this and that. And yeah, they've actually found something. I do have a brain. But seriously, my body went through this attunement process because my soul, or the aspect of my soul, had gone out. And this is not me saying it. This is the Hopi Indian medicine woman called the Rainbow Grandmother. She's the one that shared this with me, that my soul traveled out to the 13th dimension, and she had never seen a soul travel out that far. So what that means is that while my soul was out of my body for 9 months, yes, I should have had a vacancy sign, really my body was attuning so that when my soul came back from learning all this crazy stuff that I'm sharing with you now, that it was able to adapt. Because if it doesn't, just like a battery overflowing or overcharging, you would blow it up, right? So you have to have a good, solid avatar in order to resonate with the body. So, and again, this isn't a lesson on eating right or anything like that, but do eat an apple a day because it does keep the doctor away. Again, in closing, I love you guys, and I wanted to just share this, even though it was a little far out, but I think it's vitally important for everyone to know, and just start looking around. It's like, oh, man, so my ex wasn't just crazy. She was, there was just nobody home. So with that, I love you guys. Leave a comment. I know you're going to, and leave me some crazy comments like, hey, Joe, I know I dated one. Or just leave me stories. And just, I love you guys. And again, it's so very important for me to be able to share this with you so that we can elevate and evolve together. So thanks for tuning in, pun intended. Thanks for understanding a greater aspect of the law of attunement. I'm Joe Heller, and until next time, I love you.